Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 34 of Dark Souls 3 with me, Chris from Swede Fighters. As I told you in the previous episode, I'm going to be doing a couple of those talking after I've recorded episodes, because honestly, it lets me focus a lot more on the game, which means more progress in the game, which means you will not have to see me dying again and again and again and again in the same place. Incidentally, I will still die again and again and again in the same place, but I will at least be talking about something more amusing than me dying in the episodes. So I'm doing this mostly because it helps me focus, and I'm talking about other things besides, dying in the game. Because it really does make it a little bit harder to play when I try to talk about interesting and funny stuff. Incidentally, in the previous episode, I started to talk seriously about the plot of the game series. Because I have been talking about the game series for a while now, and the story in it, but I haven't really done so coherently. I've been doing it every now and then, and I've been getting details wrong, and I've been doing it in the wrong order, and I can understand why that would be confusing. So I'm here to try to straighten out the story of the first game. I might revisit it if I ever do finish our first Let's Play. The Dark Souls 1 Let's Play. But if I don't, then at least you will get kind of the story from the first game here. So we left off talking about the Age of Dark and the made-up story about it, where the made-up legend that there would be a chosen undead. Now let's talk a little bit about why people start turning undead. This isn't entirely clear, but they say that one of the signs of the dying flame is the mark of the dark soul appearing on some people. And the mark of the dark soul means that you are undead. It means that you will eventually lose your humanity and become a hollow. Meaning that you will no longer have a soul inside you. Like, these people are hollow, by the way, these skeletons. It means you will, at least I think they're hollow. It means that you are no longer in control of yourself. So the main character in the first game can become a hollow while still retaining control of himself. And that is one of the signs of being the chosen undead. Now, the chosen undead, if you remember, is actually just a construction created by the Lord Gwyn or one of the people who helped him, in a way to trick humans or undead into trying to rekindle the first flame, because Gwyn already rekindled it, but it will still die because it doesn't have enough fuel to sustain itself endlessly. Now, one of the helpers of Gwyn is Kingseeker Framt, one of the primordial serpents that I mentioned a few episodes ago. There's two primordial serpents. There's Kingseeker Framt and Darkstalker Kath, whatever. I never actually met him in game, because I'm a good undead. I kindled the first flame. But basically, Framt will tell you that if you don't kindle the first flame, the Age of Dark, incidentally, he never mentions that it is the Age of Humanity. He just says it's the Age of Dark. He says that the Age of Dark will ensue, meaning there will be a time of chaos and corruption will consume the world. We only has his words to believe in, and the words of some other helpers of Gwyn. It is quite possible that the Age of Dark would be good for humans. We never know that. And that's one of the great things about the story. It's never actually told to you whether or not it's a good thing that the fire dies. It could also lead back to, the dragons coming back or whatever, but we'll talk about that later. So, you wake up in the start of the first game in the Northern Undead Asylum. Northern Undead Asylum, incidentally implying that there might be more than just one of them, that this is the northern one. And the Undead Asylums, Asylum, by the way, if you don't know, is a place where they don't really exist anymore. It's a mental hospital, but more along the lines of confining the mentally unhealthy or mentally unstable, mentally sick people, and studying them rather than trying to cure them. So you're basically chucked off to the Northern Undead Asylum to spend the rest of eternity there going hollow and whatever. But Oscar of Astoria, another undead, another chosen undead perhaps, releases you, gives you the key to your cell, and dies in the process. But not before he can tell you the story passed down through his family, and one of the seed myths created by either Gwyn or one of his followers to light the first flame. And that myth or the legend is, "Thou who art undead, art chosen. In thine exodus from the undead asylum, maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords, Lordran. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know." So, the idea here is that if an undead is strong enough to ring the 2 bells of awakening, incidentally, it says bell of awakening, but there's 2 bells you have to ring, you have proven your mettle enough to be a possible candidate for rekindling the flame. So, Kingseeker Frampt will not appear until you've rang both bells. And that's what most of the first part of the game is about. One of the bells is at the clock tower, fairly easy to get to, and the other one is all the way down in Swamp Town. I'd like to say Swamp Town, but I don't think that's what it's called. It's all the way down in well, basically it's not a very nice place anyway, and you have to ring these 2 bells. Once you've done that, you can go on to do the next part of being a chosen undead. And when you do that, when you meet Kingseeker Frampt, he tells you that, oh yeah, well, you're probably the chosen, but you've done the first test, and you are hardly the first one to succeed. Now, the real test is getting the oh, I forgot the word for it. God damn it, I was supposed to look this up. Basically, you have to get another thing from Anor Londo. I don't remember if he says it's from Anor Londo, because I think that's kind of like a surprise. Oh, yeah, I'm going offline on Steam right now because I don't really want to be troubled by other people, because it's kind of bothersome when there's a window popping out telling you what other people are playing. Just saying. So anyway, Kingseeker Frampt, he sends you off on the second part of the mission, and that is to retrieve a thing from Anor Londo. So now you have to go through Sen's Fortress, or Sen's Funhouse, as fans of the series like to call it, because it's full of traps and snake people, and it's not fun at all. And interestingly, when you get here, you will meet other undead. And now we're not just talking about undead hollows, you know, your run-of-the-mill hollows that you kill with one hit. No, we're talking about actual heroes of legend. We're talking about oh god, I don't recall the names for them. I will, Chris, put it into the video, the names of them. Basically, legendary warriors who made it this far, but no further. So that's interesting, because that means that other people have rung the bells already. Which kind of makes you wonder, am I really the chosen undead? Or am I just walking along the path of the chosen undead, air quotes included? Because this is like a path laid out for me. I had to do these things. I mean, ringing the bells doesn't really do anything besides letting a giant know that it should open the gate to the next passage. So let's do a little bit of oof. Yep, didn't see that one coming. Or actually, I did see that one coming. Tried to run back and failed. Good work there, Chris. Good work. Let's look back at Gwyn. Gwyn gave one part of his soul, his Lord Soul, to Seath, the Scaleless, basically as kind of a thank you thing for helping him out killing the dragons. He also gave another part of his soul to the 4 kings of Anor Londo. No, not New Londo, sorry. New Londo, why it was created, kind of I don't know. It was one of the big human cities. Okay, the skeleton just randomly died. And it became corrupt. But before it became corrupt, the 4 kings of Anor Londo were allies of Gwyn. And he gave them the Lord Souls, or part of his Lord Soul, as a token of respect, perhaps gratitude. I mean, that's not a gift you give away lightly. He didn't even give part of his Lord Souls to his 4 knights. So that just goes to show you how important the 4 kings were. But they were corrupted by Darkstalker Kaith. Or Kath, I think it's Kaith. This was the other primordial serpent, who tells you a completely different story. He tells you that the Age of Dark is the Age of Man, and that is a natural progression of the world, and that Gwyn, Ninja Skeleton, Gwyn is terrified of humanity, so he decides to keep the Age of Fire going, even going against what nature has intended, so to speak. And that's interesting because that's a completely different angle of it. And that implies that if you're kindling the flame, you're actually working against humanity. You're working to keep the gods, running things. I wonder what kind of gods you would help, though, because there's not really that many gods around anymore. But I digress. This this Darkstalker Kaith, he taught humans how to take humanity from each other. And so New Londo is the birthplace of the Dark Stalkers? The Dark Wraiths. Sorry, I have a hard time pronouncing sounds. My teeth are not very good for it. The Dark Wraiths, basically. They are the ones who travel to other timelines and take people's humanity. And this is not really a nice thing to do, because this hollows other people. So it's quite possible that Darkstalker Kaith is the bad guy here, and Kingseeker Frampt is the good guy. I mean, let's look at it this way. They're probably neither of them good guys, but at least Frampt wants to keep the world as it was, and Kaith kind of wants to usher the world into darkness. And if that means taking humanity from people, I mean, the curse of the undead is supposed to be a sign of the Dark Age coming. I mean, technically, yes, you're immortal, you never die. On the other hand, you lose your soul, your humanity, and you become like a walking husk. Super not nice to be. So, I don't know what I would prefer, the Age of Dark or the Age of Light or Fire. Who knows. But yeah, you have to go to the kiln of the first flame. That's your ultimate goal. That's where Frampt wants to bring you, and Kaith, incidentally, because that's where the first flame is. Obviously, the kiln is incidentally a funny word, because a kiln is where you make clay and bricks. It's where you have a fire to kind of heat clay things, to make solid objects out of clay. That might be symbolic of something. I haven't really thought about it. But that's also, major spoiler alert, that's where you will find Gwyn, hollowed. And this is interesting, because that means that Gwyn might just be a human with a very powerful Lord Soul. Oof, nice dodging there, Chris. You could have just gone onto the things on the side, by the way, and that would have been fine. But yeah, it does imply that Gwyn might not be a god, or that the gods are just very powerful humans. I mean, Nito is just a giant walking bag of bones, so I have a hard time seeing him as a human. But the Witch of Isolith looks pretty human, and Gwyn does too look pretty human. So maybe they were just humans, just like the furtive pygmy and us. Well, bye-bye, skeleton. And they just, got really powerful. That's a completely possible way of interpreting the story. But you meet Gwyn there, he's hollowed, and you fight him. And once you kill him, you get to choose. Will you light the flame and keep the Age of Fire going, or will you just walk out there and become the lord of this new world? And if you do become the lord of this new world, what kind of world will it be? Food for thought. But it's interesting, really. I do like the depth of the story of Dark Souls 1, and this is one of the reasons that Dark Souls 2 got so much bad flack, because it tried to kind of flirt with the story of the first game, but it did so either extremely subtly or not at all, which made a lot of people, myself included, kind of disappointed. Because we wanted, like, okay, let's get some more continuity. Oh, I don't like this enemy at all. I do not like this enemy at all. He throws balls of ghost goop on you, and we'll be seeing a lot of those homing ghost goop thingies later on in the series. Ugh, I do not like them at all. And of course he comes back to life, but thankfully we killed him again. So really, I mean, it's so much stuff open for interpretation in this game, and that's what makes it so good. And that's kind of what made Dark Souls 2 not very good, because it was either very on the nose, and I died again, or it was very subtle, or not even relevant to the overarching plot. And I did mention that the Gaping Dragon, no, I don't actually have time for that, so I'll talk about the Gaping Dragon in the next episode. Bye bye.